Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I know you probably have heard of hypnotherapy, and it's making such a difference in so many lives, helping people quit smoking, change their addictions, even when it comes down to anxiety, helping people. But have you ever spoke to somebody who was actually hypnotized? And we're going to do that today, and just the fascinating stories. And Debora Sartain joins us. She's with Hypnothinc, and it's great to have you here, Debora. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, Steve?
I'm good. And for another podcast, we'll talk about how you hypnotized me just the other day. And all I can say is, what an experience. Which just, I know a lot of people are a little uneasy when you talk about hypnosis, thinking that they're out of control and anything could come through. I was in full control the entire time. It was just an amazing experience. You took me back to my childhood, and I felt like I was literally there and identified some issues there that I think has transcended to my life now. But we'll get to that. You have somebody with you that, why don't you introduce Rose?
All right. Rosemary is a very longtime dear friend of mine. And we met in the most unusual way. I saw her walking down the street with a guitar slung on her back. And I thought, I got to meet that chick. And I ran after her, literally. Just my internal self said, you need to meet this girl. And here she was meeting my roommate at the time to get together and play music together. And from that moment on, we hit it off. And Rosemary, just a very fascinating individual. She travels all over the world. She's had various types of careers, very interesting. And when I met her in the beginning of my hypnosis world, she was kind enough to let me practice on her when I got out of school. And that's very brave. And we've had some very phenomenal results. And I will let Rosemary share her experiences. So Rosemary, go ahead.
Well, we can start with the first one that was pretty profound. And well, I hope I don't reactivate it because I'll probably cry. She and a group of others, it was when she had first become certified, she started talking about the subconscious mind. And Deb has this very deep, relaxing voice to begin with. So as I'm listening to her, I'm like, wow, I was already getting a little hypnosis. And she started talking about the power of the mind. And it was really amazing. She was saying this higher mind will do anything for us. We need to get into sync with it, very simply. So she said, hey, you guys, would you like to try? So a group of us did something together, and she asked, in the middle of this hypnotic induction, who it is that we would really like to meet and connect with. And I really wanted to see, what is that energy called Jesus Christ? What is it? Who is it? What is it? And I remember very quickly going down into a place, and it sounds up, don't want to get all emotional on you, but I really felt like I was in the middle of a circle, and I remember this energy in front of me. I don't even know if I could see it, but I remember all this love coming forth from that energy. It was so powerful. It was like nothing else I've ever, look, tears coming down my face. And I just, for some reason, I couldn't become too depressed after that, because I realized that there was something that was really in my corner, whether or not it was symbolic, whether or not it was real. It was very real to me. And I found it very healing. And that energy said, I will never leave you. I will always be with you. And I just felt so much love coming back and forth. And so it's a very hard thing to talk about, but it really changed me. Now, that's maybe more on the sublime level, but there's been many different times where Deb and I have talked, and you can give somebody a hypnotic, induction pretty much by just talking. Let me just tell you one thing that was very powerful. One time, Deb and I were talking about driving, and I told her, I wish I could get over this fear of driving. I'm still really nervous. And I'll never forget what she said to me. She said, why are you nervous? And I said, I guess because my father was a drunk driver. Who knows? It was terrible being in a car with him. I always felt like I was going to get into an accident. And Deb said to me, well, your father's not in the car with you now. And I don't know what it was, but the next time I got into a car, it was that easy. In other words, hypnosis is also about communication. And it sounds that simple, but since she had hypnotized me so many times, now in the waking state, it seems to just go in there and work.
Almost like the power of suggestion.
Yeah. Yeah. And asking the right questions, that's really important. She just knew what the question to ask. She knew the thing to flip everything around. And I thought, wow, I am a confident driver. It was my father that was not confident.
Right.
So,
interesting. So I have questions. When you were brought back or brought into that state, Rose, and it had a religious connection, and maybe Deb, you could jump in on this too. Is it that she was back to a time where Jesus Christ was, or was it she was just feeling the power and the presence of that spiritual healing, I guess?
Rosemary, I'll let you answer that.
Well, it was something that I felt. That's a good question. And I think in some ways it was both. Like, where does the past exist? It doesn't really exist out there. It exists in our mind. And, I can't really speak to it and I can't really prove it. But I feel that you can actually sort of connect to things back there, even to those that have gone on. We've been taught that people that make their transition to another realm when they die, we've been taught that it's over. And I remember as a child always thinking, my parents just don't understand that everybody is always here now. It sounds a little strange, but that's pretty much what happens when you do hypnosis. You're connected into that mind that is not time, space, reality. And you begin to be a believer. And one other thing about this hypnotic thing that was so powerful to me, I remember that entity was so loving and it was amazing. It was like any time that I expressed that love to him, he expressed it back to me 10 times as much. And so to make a long story short, I actually found myself working as I am now in a psychiatric hospital, working with people. And it might sound a little weird. I feel like I am now taking that place. And guess what? We all take that place for being healers to each other. All of us are always doing it at all times. It's our nature to heal. And we're all lovers at our core. And so it's just funny that here I am now in this circle of people, and I am now taking the place of that entity, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do understand it. And it's, the time and place, and I can just relate it to when I was hypnotized a few days ago, where I saw my father, and he passed when I was 21, but I felt like he was right there in front of me. Like it's almost like I was watching a movie, or he was there. How do I know he wasn't?
Yeah.
I don't know that. It's in my mind, but I do believe that people who have passed, and I have friends who, some of the top psychics in the country, without a doubt, and they have whatever ability they have. And I've seen it. I'm skeptical. I need it proven to me. It's been proven to me. So how am I to doubt that I wasn't next to my dad? I think it's like just what you're saying, Rose. Maybe you were with a higher power. Maybe it was actually taking place. We don't know. How do we prove it? How do we prove it not?
Absolutely.
One thing I do want to say that I think is very powerful, and I always know this, I work in a hospital now. I'm not a therapist. I'm more or less doing educational groups, which I love because I get to be more free flowing. And hypnosis is actually communication. It's always communication. Mm-hmm. Really is truly what it is. In fact, Deb and I, we do a lot of our work in what is called uptime trance, which is what we're doing now. You have the ability right now to refuse everything I'm saying. Well, this is a little far out, but you're open to hearing this. And even more importantly, experience itself is the greatest teacher. I have books all over my house. I used to be a speed reader when I was younger. Now I sit back and enjoy books. But, you could read all you want. You could Google it. But like you're saying, Steve, you had that experience. It's very real to you. And more importantly, it's a positive experience. I can tell in your voice that it really benefited you. And that's what we're doing with hypnosis. We want to connect the higher mind with that more skeptical mind, the
Mhm.
conscious mind. So
Yeah.
you had a,
If I could interject, just thought, we're talking about time and space. Are we in that time or space? And from our experience, Rosemary and myself, and probably you, Steve, knowing the people that you know that have these gifts to be able to go back in time or space, we're really not going backwards or forwards. There's really no time. We're connecting to all that is. And I'm sure you've heard this before, energy never dies. Okay, it just changes space or goes somewhere else, something that we just don't understand here in this realm. But for you, Steve, to say, I feel that my dad was there, getting into this hypnotic state allows you to go to that space and time where they can meet you and you can actually join together. And it's a very phenomenal experience when it happens. It's very profound. I can't explain it. I can't tell you why that happens, but in my years of practice, I've had many incidences with that happening with my clients. And even when we're not trying, I'm sure there's a story that I may have already said about the woman that came to me for grief. And she didn't explain to me why. I don't need to know the particulars. The subconscious mind has all the answers. So while she was in trance, she started crying profoundly. And I asked her if she was okay. Would you like to come up? And she's like, no, I'm fine. She's, I never need to see you again, which is a compliment to a hypnotist because we've healed them. She says, I see my son. He's fine. He's happy. He gave me a hug. He's well. That's all I need to know. Long story short, her son died at 22 from alcohol poisoning. She connected with her son. I could write a book on these types of occurrences while you're in that hypnotic state. So the reality is that, yes, Steve, maybe your father was truly there. And, let's swing the pendulum the other way. It was more like you got there. Does that make any sense?
100%. And I can't tell you whether I truly connected with him at that time, but I can tell you working with psychics who are legit, and I want to punch holes in everything.
Yes.
I'm skeptical. I've seen it, and I know that they brought messages from people that have passed over, and there's no way that they could have done that unless they got something,
Yes.
some sign. How do they do it? I don't know. They have a gift, or we're all intuitive. They're just more in tune and able to bring those messages back from time to time. I can't tell you. But I will say this. I had no idea that when I was going to be hypnotized, that I would be feeling what I felt. I thought I would just be kind of looking back at the past and feeling I was there. That's the profound, my takeaway from that. I was there. I was a kid again. I was, and it was so vivid and visual, and it's still stuck in my head, days later.
Yeah. I also noticed too, I really like what you're saying, Steve, because thank goodness you're able to admit that. I'm hearing it in your voice. The voice says everything. That this is a heart thing. It's not that gushy Valentine's-y, I love you, honey. It's actually the heart. It's the most intelligent organ in the body. I will say this, and thank you, Deb, again, for introducing me to hypnosis. I get an awful lot of, you really begin to trust the subconscious mind, which I feel is a heart mind. Everything that you're talking about, we're not being so clinical, are we? We're this is an experience, and it's a joyous experience. The job I do right now, the reason I enjoy it is there's when you use your heart, when you let your heart lead everything, you're getting really great inner guidance. It's actually, religion might disagree, but your heart is telling you everything at all times. If you could let your heart lead you, actually, some people think it would make you vulnerable. It's actually the opposite. You're very sure-footed. It's fun. And so this is the thing about, but in the beginning with Deb, I used to be so intellectualized, like, well, if the subconscious mind is connecting to NES, and Deb used to just look at me, and I finally got it. Go with the flow, and you're picking up things intuitively with people all the time, and you begin to learn to trust that. Plus, Deb and I also like to teach self-hypnosis. So you see, you want to get rid of us. We want to teach people to begin to do this, with yourself, because you can. And one other thing, it has amazing results with depression and self-esteem. There's nothing like it.
I didn't know that you could do that, self-hypnotize yourself. And I do want to, just before we forget the point, and Deb said it before, the subconscious knows everything. It's all right there. And Rose, to your point, the heart, I call it your gut. It's your gut. Trust your gut. And now I'm in tune with it more than ever on my journey. I just made a major decision an hour ago, a life-changing decision. I really did. Because my gut said, you got it. We're going to go in a different direction right here. And I am. And you know what? I'm perfectly fine with it. I feel good about the decision that I made. And I don't think there's going to be any repercussions. I'm good because I trust what's inside.
Wow. What a great thing. I mean, life, let's face it. They say that life, there's no such thing as an unhappy journey to a happy ending. Sometimes when people make this too hard and scary, even with a lot of patients that are depressed, honestly, this is a little bit, I guess you'd say, leading edge. Although they're depressed, I mean, I really don't want to mismatch their depression, but the easiest thing to do is to sit down and, hello, how are you? Oh my God, good to see you. Oh, you're kind of almost in a positive way mismatching their depression, because everybody wants to go along with that better feeling thing. You just can't take it too quickly. You see what I mean? It's sort of like you want to just watch where people are and just kind of gently invite them. Like you accepted the invitation. Hypnosis, by the way, of course, as she probably already told you, it's all your willingness. For instance, if you were in a hypnotic trance and I said, hey, Steve, let's go rob a bank, you would wake right up and say, what are you doing? Because it's always in alignment with something you want.
Yeah. And as I was being hypnotized, I knew where I wanted to go. And it's almost like I got there quick. And I mean, I guess you can attest to that. And as I'm going there, I'm like, all right, yeah, we're going to go there. How far was I going to go? I had no idea. It's just very profound. It was people need to experience it. People need to get in touch with their subconscious. It's just an amazing, all the answers are there, like we said before. So for you Rose, now you were hypnotized, you started that, and then you now are a hypnotist.
Yes. Well, I mean, everybody does hypnotic communication. Like I said, that's something basic. But yeah, I do it all the time with people. And my favorite thing, like I said before, is self-esteem and depression. It'll always move into something spiritual, because when you take care of that, Steve, people are like, they're ready to quit smoking. They're ready to lose weight. They love themselves. With people that are having weight loss problems too, I think it kind of surprises a lot of people. And it's not easy to hear, or maybe it is. I tell a lot of women, love yourself as you are now. You've been programmed, you've let yourself be programmed to not love yourself. So what would it be like to just accept yourself as you are? And it's amazing how people jump right out of that negative trance and say, wait a minute, I do have beautiful eyes. I do have, because we got to learn to start in a place. It goes back to that thing. You can't start in an unhappy place, because your subconscious mind is like wanting to take you to that more relaxed state. So even with smoking itself, to beat yourself up about it, very important to be ready and willing. You got to have a great reason to stop smoking. So you see, all this is your own willingness. It is a co-creation with someone else that's going to sit with you and believe for you. Very powerful.
Absolutely.
Why do you both think that we, as humans, gravitate toward the negative? Why can't we always just automatically stay positive? Why do you think that is?
I think we're trained to do. We're in a world full of negativity. Even what we're saying right now, I'm very relaxed and happy that you're so open, because I think sometimes even with professional people, bless the professional people, they're doing so much for everybody. But this is more like off the cuff stuff, but it's powerful. It's always that thing in secret. I think that it's negativity has a very powerful momentum. I'm not going to say that I'm always positive. I had trouble the other day, and I'm like, oh, we kind of can go down that road. But when you're practicing getting back to your higher mind, that feels so out of harmony with who you really are, that you come back real quick. Does that make sense? You won't be willing to stay in that negative place. You'll come back, and it hurts a lot to be there. Does that make sense? Because you're off your signal. It's literally negative emotion is actually static. You're not in relation to who you really are. We are designed to experience a lot of feel good in our lives. Look at children. We learn to be guarded. We learn it. So anybody that is wanting to move into hypnosis is someone that's ready to relax and ready to allow life to be fun. But that's a great question. One other thing about negativity, it does have a very powerful momentum. So you're right about that. But we always have the decision to kind of practice what it's like to have those feel-good thoughts and to trust your heart and to keep moving back here and see what it's like. You'll never go back. You won't, because your nature is to feel good.
You know, you just brought a thought to my mind when we're talking about childhood. What happens when you're a kid? You got a 2-year-old finally gets to the table, you sit there and everything, and then goes to touch something. Hey, don't touch that. No, don't touch. Right away, you got exposed to negativity. That child just wants to see and feel and just be part of life. They don't know any better. And then they were told something that could be perceived to be negative. And, as a parent, that's, you don't know any better. You're just telling them, don't touch that. But the seed has been planted, the negative seed.
And you're spot on with that. Our negativity is programming. And again, look at media. Look at everything we observe daily. The programming is so negative and so fear-based that it leaches into our subconscious. Okay, we can't help but absorb this energy, and we're unaware of it. I wanted to make a comment that about the weight loss thing with Rosemary. Before the COVID hit, I was hosting 3-4 different weight loss groups. And I was slender, I was in great shape, and I wasn't doing it for myself, I was doing it for other people, but that information was being absorbed by me. So let's fast forward 2 years, 40 pounds later, okay, I'm not hypnotizing myself. I'm not doing the self-care that I need to do for myself. So everything is absorbed. Our energy is absorbed from outside sources, whether it's positive or negative. And in my case, the example I'm bringing forth is when I was giving that positive energy to other people, I was receiving that positive energy. And that's how important it is for us as individuals to give ourselves self-care. I am a living example of what, I neglect myself, it shows. I do well for myself and for others, it shows. It's profoundly. Our bodies change and morph, our hearts, our spirits, everything about us is a mindset. It's our thoughts, principles, and thoughts are creation, and we create with our minds. Are we going to have a better existence or a truly profound existence? That's up to us. You already experienced today, Steve, part of the process, the result of your hypnosis. There was 2 thoughts that came to my mind as you were speaking, Rosemary. First of all, synchronicity. It's not an accident that the 3 of us are talking here today. It's not an accident that Steve and I got together earlier in the week and did some hypnosis. And it's not an accident that you made a profound decision today and you made it comfortably and you feel good about it and you made the right decision. Everything happens for a reason. I do believe it.
Everything does. There are no coincidences at all. And I just want to share one thing. As we're speaking, I'm thinking about a book that I read years ago. I think it came out in like 1943, and it's been published over and over. It's called The Power of Positive Thinking. Norman Vincent Peale, I believe, is the author. And the one thing I do remember from the book is that during your just normal day, when you see people around you, think positive thoughts about them. It's so easy if somebody doesn't hold the door for you. You're like, come on. Or you let somebody in a flow of traffic and they don't say thank you. And you're thinking, really, come on. No, just think a positive thought. Because if we all do that, again, it's a transfer of energy. And there's got to be a reason that book talks about it, because energy's been around forever.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. You know, the cool thing too for me is this is so freeing to me. You learn this in hypnosis. You do have access to this higher mind. Unfortunately, we can't take a wand and have people be the way we want. You get a lot of practice in what is called unconditional love. We're so powerful, and like Deb was saying, and you seem to be touching on it too. We're magnets. I flunked college physics, but let me tell you something. When it comes to psychology, I understand it. There's so much truth in it. And all the martial arts people, they understand it too. We're all magnetizing everything to us, thoughts, experiences, people, everything. So what's really cool about learning this stuff is all you got to worry about is this. You get the best from people. You really do. I mean, I work in a psychiatric unit and people can't believe, like, why are you always laughing? I'm like, because my job is to hold the perspective of this higher mind. This higher mind is totally loving. Am I there all the time? No, but I have a willingness to stay there. And you know what the reward is? The feel good. Everybody's in it for the feel good. The problem is we almost feel guilty about feeling good. You literally, what's really fun about what I'm doing now at the hospital and with anybody that I work with is getting them ready. And you seem very willing, Steve, getting ready to feel better more and more of the time. It's sort of,
yeah.
100%.
And I have to say, since the session that I had with Deb, I feel elevated. I can't put my finger on it. It's like weird, but I just feel like a sense of, call it calm.
Yes.
That session, if that makes sense.
One more thing, I do got to give a little kudos to my friend over there. Do you know that when you have a very good very, very good hypnotist, one that really, really, I hate to say knows their stuff, but she knows her stuff. I think I know my stuff. No, I know my stuff. You're actually, I think you can hear this. We're extending ourselves to each other. If you can accept it, then you got a great, sometimes people are afraid of this stuff, Steve. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's actually a gift. So what I'm saying is she's almost on some level in that hypnotic experience together. She's actually transmitting a little bit of her own self. Could you feel that?
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I trusted her because we went places, and even I'm just about out of time. But I told friends about the session, and one friend said, "Can I hear the video?" Which we may play pieces of it in the near future. I'm like, no, I got to see it first.
Very personal. You know, I think you're very brave for sharing. Yeah. You do share.
Yeah.
And I will say, during the session, as I was, when I got there, I was almost like, what am I doing? I feel like I just revealed everything about myself to this kind of stranger on a Zoom video, but I was perfect because Deb has a way of just making you feel comfortable and just.
Yeah.
That's so important. You have to trust. If you don't build rapport, how can you get to that place where you can be vulnerable?
Yeah.
And we have a lot of colleagues. Everybody does this differently. They have their own ways. But I do something a little different. And I had discussed this with you, Steve, before, that I spend a lot of time with the pre-talk and getting to know you and just overcoming your objections and educating you so you completely understand the process. There's no stone unturned. And if it takes an hour to do that, that's what I'm going to do. If it takes 2 hours to do that, I'm going to take the 2 hours so that you're completely comfortable. And you trust me. You know that, I'm taking your hand and I'm guiding you. So you have to go, this is the person for the job. If there's any doubt in your mind, you go, oh, I don't know, I'm not connecting with her, then it's not going to happen.
Yep.
So,
you are the person. And by the way, I had my eyes closed the entire time. And I didn't know whether you were reading a script or anything like that. And then you revealed afterwards that, no, you're just talking. And it was so profound, and just the way you did it. And then, to Rosa's point, that you just have a certain quality of your voice where you can lead somebody where they need to go to feel better. If somebody wants to connect with you, Deb, how do they do that?
Right here.
There it is. Okay.
Hypnothinc, my head's in the way. Get on my website, Hypnothinc with a C, not a K. and reach out to me, and I'll gladly talk to you. Most of my clients, before they're my clients, I probably talk to them for a good half hour on the phone till they feel comfortable enough and understand the process to say, yes, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And you should do it if you're looking to make a change in your life, whatever it might be. There's so many different things that hypnotherapy can heal, can fix, and just make you feel just more whole again. Deb and Rose, great talking with you guys today. Just give, thank you for revealing, what we talked about with you, Rose. That fascinating, just fascinating. Good stuff. All right.
Nice to meet you.
You too. Yeah. And hope we catch up again soon. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.